everyone, and welcome to the 16th episode of Slime Time, the official Dragon Quest Dragon's Den podcast. This is Plattym3.
And this is Liamland. So we have a new Instagram account.
We did a gram of what now?
So I'm digging up some old Dragon Quest photos from Japan trips to post. So everyone please follow that account if you haven't already. I also started reading Dragon Quest Monsters Plus with my son, and then we abruptly stopped. So please take this as a warning and read it yourself. Read it to yourself first. I didn't exactly read up on the age restrictions for this book, and since my 3-year-old son Alex and I had just beaten the first Dragon Warrior game together, I thought we'd give this a read through. So since I was planning on reading DQM Plus for an upcoming podcast, I thought this could be fun father and son thing to do together. So we get through the first book. Totally fine. Lots of allusions to Dragon Warrior monsters, which I finally beat for the first time this past February after years of attempted playthroughs.
About time.
Yeah, seriously. So this game was actually fresh in my mind, and I'm explaining the in-game Easter eggs references in the book to my son, and as he nods politely, pretending to know what I'm talking about. So Alex loved pointing out all the monsters he'd seen in Dragon Warrior, Quest of the Stars, and Dragon Quest Swords, all of which we've been playing through together. So then we get to book 2.
Another upskirt shot.
He liked that one. He liked that part. He did.
Who doesn't? I mean, what?
Yeah. He's like, Daddy, look. So as spoiler free as possible about book 2, as I'm sure we'll go through this in a future podcast. About a quarter of the way through book 2, there's a part where a hero, I won't tell you who, but a hero shows up and cuts a dragon into pieces, like really, really graphically, actually slicing off parts of the dragon before ultimately killing it. And for the first time in my son's book loving life, my son was like, Daddy, I want to stop reading.
Yeah, I remember that part, and I was like, okay, good thing this is all black and white and just pen outline here.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, lesson learned, Dragon Quest parenting tip: read the books yourself first. Those first-person battle perspectives in the classic Dragon Quest games really tone down the battle violence. Good job with the Magna artist who reminds us that you're actually you're killing them. This isn't Pokemon. They're not getting knocked out, quote unquote. Yeah, it's actual brutal violence. I mean, of course, knowing is half the battle and the other half is brutal violence.
Speaking of brutal violence, the games we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, that's true.
You are not just simply bopping 100 slimes on the head. You are slaying thousands of them.
Yeah, they're not just like flashing and then disappearing. They're actually getting destroyed. So,
and to talk to us tonight about the genocide, who do we have?
Joining us tonight, we have from the Dragon's Den our resident Dragon Quest Heroes expert, Brother Jaybird.
Oh, we're all in trouble now. Hi, everybody. Sorry.
Explain to us all the genocide, and welcome to the podcast, by the way.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And also joining us tonight, we've got the Dragon's Den owner. We got Woodus with us.
How's it going?
So tonight we're going to talk about Dragon Quest Heroes.
Yes, but before we do that, let's get to know our guest a little bit. So, Brother Jaybird, I think, did you change your username recently on the Den?
Yeah, a few months ago. I was originally Jaybird C way back when.
Mm-hmm. So what's with the username? What's with that one? What's with the new one? And tell us a little bit how you got into Dragon Quest at the beginning.
Okay, so Brother Jaybird is the latest evolution. My nicknames evolve over time like Pokemon. It's the latest evolution of a nickname I've been using since high school, way back when, revolving around peculiarities in my own name that I've been using. So Brother Jaybird just happens to be the latest version of that. I changed that from Jaybird C because that C was just really kind of hanging on there after a while. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to get rid of this. It doesn't sound as cool as it did 3 years ago when I started.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of your favorite least favorite games in the DQ series?
I'd have to say that one of my absolute favorites is Dragon Quest VIII, which is how I got started with Dragon Quest. I'm a Renaissance era fan, so I came on with the coming of 8 to PlayStation 2, and I started with The first time I ever played a Dragon Quest game, it was the promotional disc, actually, for Dragon Quest VIII. So I got to play that. That was exciting. It was gorgeous. Loved every instant of it. And then I got to the end of the demo and went, okay, now I really want to play the real game. So I did eventually when it did come out. And then I transitioned from there into Rocket Slime, Dragon Quest, which has the Dragon Quest Heroes title, but isn't actually part of the franchise. That's going to be a fun little piece of trivia for all future comers. Why is this one called Dragon Quest Heroes when it has nothing to do with the actual Dragon Quest Heroes games?
Mm-hmm. It was the original Dragon Quest Heroes.
It was, and it was a very fun game, a very different game, but I loved it a lot too. Technically, the first Dragon Quest game, the first exposure I had to the series was through Nintendo Power, I believe, late in the 90s, the Mario Tennis issue. And they had a several page article on Dragon Warrior 1 and 2, which was coming out as a combo pack for the Game Boy or the Game Boy Color at the time. And I read that, and it didn't make much of an impression on me at the time. But then I later learned in life what Dragon Ball was and who Akira Toriyama was, and I happened to be going through this old Nintendo Power magazine I had, and I realized, this looks an awful lot like Akira Toriyama art. This looks suspiciously like Akira Toriyama art. Oh, it is Akira Toriyama art. Okay, this is cool. So that was my first real exposure to the Dragon Quest franchise back in the days of Dragon Warrior. But I didn't come on until Dragon Quest VIII, as I said. Other games I happen to like in the franchise are the Heroes games, which are very fun. I am looking into 11, some of you may know, and I'm discovering that one for myself. I'm like a year and a half late to the game, but I'm getting there. I'm catching up. I can finally someday go back into the threads and look at all the spoilers without destroying it for myself.
Wow, you really haven't seen the spoilers yet. Okay, great. Are you going to be playing
I've caught a few from the podcast. I'm so sorry, I missed everything you just said there.
Oh, that's all right. I was going to say, are you playing the PS4 or the Switch version?
I am. All my modern gaming is done through the laptop, so Steam.
Oh, okay, Steam. Oh, great.
Cool.
All right. So are there any games in the franchise? Well, I mean, you're kind of doing one right now with Dragon Quest XI. Any other games in the franchise that you haven't got around to that you're pretty excited to at some point?
I have played all the mainline games, actually. When I picked up 7, the remake, a few years ago, and I finally got around to playing that because that was the major gap in my playing experience. So I was pretty excited to get on board with that one because that one's actually a pretty good game. Lots of story in it, which I appreciate. There's not a lot of new that I'd like to look into right now, but there are a few old games that never came out in the West that I've been meaning to get around to. I mentioned a few months ago that I was going to try and look at Monsters, the remake they made for the 3DS Monster games, which looked pretty interesting.
Yeah, I played that one. Actually, it was pretty funny. Was it 2 days ago, my son, who I've been really getting into playing kind of role-playing games and actually going through a game and beating it and rolling credits this year. We've done Hyrule Warriors, we've done Fire Emblem Warriors, we beat Luigi's Mansion 3 about 2 weeks ago, and now we're working our way through Let's Go Pikachu. He remembers me sitting on the computer 2 years ago, and it was right around the spring 2 years ago. He's like, Daddy, can we play Terry's Wonderland a little bit tomorrow or something? So yeah, I've played through the English translation of that using the Citra, and it works well.
Well, that's good. I wonder how well the Citra might work on my machine, because this machine is about 2 years old, and I don't know how good for quality-wise it is. There are some modern games that I can't play very well. My machine struggles playing anything developed for the PS4, so I've beaten the Heroes games, as you clearly know, but I had to struggle my way through it because it runs at a gallop of about 20 frames per second.
Oh man.
Does it make Zoma easier if it's choppy?
It works if it's choppy. It doesn't work if it's not. It works well enough to beat, which is what I appreciate.
I'm sure we'll get to Zoma later, but yeah, that's one of the banes of both Platy and my existence in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I beat him once out of, I think, more or less luck. Like, he missed me by like 1 frame, and I got him with Aurora's Cold Fusion.
Slash.
That's the name. That's what the attack name is. I listened to her shouting it in my ear for like a year and a half, and I forgot it already.
Oh yeah, I think it was what Liam just said. The ice slash.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
So you joined the den in the summer of 2017. Any specific reason you joined?
Well, I wanted to talk Dragon Quest with some people, and I'd been lurking on and off for like over a decade now. I first found the den at least in high school when I was using it to do research on the games, because I wasn't able to finish some of the ones I had, and so I wanted to see, okay, what was up, what was going down. Due to some moving around and some of my old games getting put into storage, so I never actually finished the original Dragon Quest VIII. I didn't get to finish it until the remake came out for the 3DS.
All right.
Nice.
So yeah, just like the rest of us, it's the reason we started this podcast. We just want to talk Dragon Quest.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of talking, so we have this game. We haven't played it actually in probably a couple of records. Sometimes we just forget, and sometimes we just don't. We run out of ideas. Plenty. I'm going to my phone for this one because I texted. Oh no, maybe I didn't text you. I had it.
You didn't text me all three.
Yeah, no, I had it in draft. Okay. All right. It's so secretive. I'm not even sharing it with you.
I don't even know it. That's true.
All right. So, Brother Jaybird, your Dragon Quest heroes, Mary Thwack Puff Puff, are Isla, Aurora, and the rune sales lady who says, "Hello, doggy."
Oh man.
Well, I think my brain just broke on that last one. Give me a second.
I feel like I want to look at the voice actor for that one before I make my decision.
Platty, if you're deleting silences, I think you should leave them in for this podcast. These are real silences here.
Long pregnant pauses.
Yeah.
Yeah, quality silence provided by Jaybird.
So that's Isla, Aurora, and hello, Docky.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to go with, I don't know what I'm in here for here in the long term, but I'm going to go with Mary Aurora Puff Puff from Isla. And by default, she, I have no
Ducky lady.
her, so I can't sort her into Mary or Puff Puff, so she gets Thwack by default. I'm such a terrible person.
That's harsh.
Goodbye, Ducky.
She needs to go.
Keep telling you my name's not Ducky.
Woodus, what?
When I show up, it gets annoying after a while.
And you have to talk to her so many times.
Yeah, and she's in. I've been playing Dragon Quest Swords recently, and she's in that too, and she calls you lover, which is kind of even creepier than Ducky.
All
Yeah,
right.
she's definitely going in Thwack now.
Yeah. All right. On that note, Woodus, what's your call on this?
I'm going to have to go the same route just for the same about reasons.
I mean, Aurora's got a temper, but you know her. Her heart is technically in the right place most of the time.
Yeah, I would say marry Aurora. I'd say Puff Puff the rune sales lady, and then Thwack Isla.
What'd she do to you? Not give you any magic tools?
No, I like the ship. That's real cool, but I don't know about the boomerang in this game.
Oh man, I'll be honest. She was the character that I used by far the least. I don't even know if there was ever a time where I chose to use her that I didn't have to, Isla. So
yeah, she doesn't stand out very much, which is bizarre because you'd think she stands out. She's got all the tropes to stand out, but then you've got Doric on the one side, and you've got all the other legacy characters on the other.
So I am going to switch it up a little bit, and even though I just said that, I think Aurora's she plans too much. I can't imagine getting married with that kind of schedule and her laying out all that battle plan.
No, that was.
That's the other dude. That's
the other
boy.
guy. Because she's the guy. She's like the balance for that. She's making fun of him for being too focused on the plans.
Oh man. Well, he can
That's
be the
not
wedding
boyfriend.
I will.
Yeah. That's how they create the sexual tension in the game.
Yes. I totally forgot that. Okay, I had that backwards then. In that case, I'll go with what Woodus and Brother Jaybird said. I'm fine with they made good points.
Right. Which I think is like
we need jackets for the club.
Yeah. I mean they did that on purpose too, I'm sure. Like you've got two different approaches to this, the strategy and the like all in just like go in and destroy everything.
Which I very much appreciate, because you don't get that in a lot of Dragon Quest games. The hero is so often just a silent protagonist. He's got like no personality at all.
And
so
then along comes this game and he can't shut up.
Personalities. They don't really do anything with the strategy versus just all in. It's just like two different flavors of people, but still it's flavor.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, and I mean they have hairdos too, unlike the game that you're playing right now.
I think you can probably mod the hairstyle.
Oh, he's
started on the protagonist. I don't mind the hairstyle so much as the rest of him.
Yeah, get a good outfit, get a good armor, and just put it on and pretend he's cool.
Pretend he has a personality. Got it.
Correct.
He did as a child. It just went away.
He did. He even got words as a child, which is more than the rest of the Dragon Quest heroes got.
Right.
Madison.
Before he was stunned into mutehood. Yeah. All right, but enough about Dragon Quest XI. We're going to be talking about Dragon Quest Heroes, the World Tree's Woe, and the Blight Below. One of my favorite subtitles for any of our games here. I remember hearing or reading articles on the internet about there was some like guy on IGN or something that literally wrote a whole article about like, how dare you give it this title so that I have to type this out like 200 times over the next few months. It was a little humorous column about like, just I can't believe I got to type this all the time.
And that's one of your jokes is like whenever you abbreviate, you always put in like DQH colon TWTW and TBB or whatever.
ATBB. Yep. It's got twat right in the middle. It's always funny.
Oh my god. Why did I never notice that before?
Yeah. It's basically DQHTW twat BB.
I swear I never noticed that before.
I've typed this in so many times that, I mean, honestly, I don't even have to type it in anymore. Since I do all my den viewing practically on my phone, it just fills it in. The second I type in DQH, it pops up as the number one suggestion.
For a second, I thought you were going to say your brain just kind of goes into autopilot at that point. You blank out for every half second.
Nope, all I got to do is click a little, like, yes, that's what I was trying to type.
Your phone is learning.
All I can think of now is Dragon Quest Heroes, the World Twat Blight Below.
I mean, you might consider the final boss kind of a twat. And
wow, thanks.
My God,
thanks.
Zoma is.
Thanks. Oh, he certainly is. All right, thanks for that image.
You're welcome,
buddy.
You're welcome.
Which I never.
We need to make you a shirt that just has that acronym on it.
Just have it right in the middle, really bold letters. I survived the twat.
We definitely didn't.
No, I was going to say, when I posted on Twitter the other day, somebody was saying something about how many platinums do you have or what was your first platinum. I was like, I have 0, none.
I picked easy platinums. I did Shovel Knight and A Day of the Tentacle.
I was very disappointed, though, when I beat Child of Light 2 years ago, and I beat it like the day before Dragon Quest XI came out. I was really pumping hard to finish that at the end, and it's only like a 10, 12-hour game. And I found everything, and I like got this gold PSN thing for a trophy, and it was like for finding everything in the game or for completing every task in the game. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I looked it up. They don't have a platinum trophy for that. So I was like, oh, come on. The only game I ever do everything in, and it didn't have a platinum. So
you can say you got 1 platinum in spirit.
Yes. Yeah. Somebody made fun of my Plattym3 that I could not be Plattym3 if I have 0 platinums, but oh well. So let me give my 1 minute quick summary of the game, and then we can get into this game a little bit deeper. You might have heard if you've followed my Twitter and looked at other podcasts I've been on. I was just talking about this game a couple weeks ago and a month ago on the RPG Backtrack on RP Gamer. And I think I gave about a 1 minute summary of this game too. And like every other Dragon Quest game, there's a big bad guy at the end. The world's falling into evil, but this game actually has pretty cool. It doesn't have a very deep storyline, but I thought it was pretty cool at the beginning because everybody's coexisting with monsters. This is a world where the monsters are running the shop down the road. They're pulling a wagon through the streets. The slimes are bouncing along next to you. Monsters aren't bad, but all of a sudden, bam, in the intro, something happens. All the monsters, suddenly their eyes turn red, and they turn bad, and things are going on. You're one of the guards. you can pick either the male or female, Aurora, or the other bum, Lucius.
Lucius, yeah.
You can pick one of those two, and you can play as both of them, of course, because the gameplay lets you switch between people. But you pick one of those to start with, and they're guards in the Royal Army of King Doric's army, who you get to play with too. And his castle's at the base of the World Tree, the Yggdrasil tree. And throughout the game, monsters are taking over the castle. You got to escape from the castle. You got to beat monsters here. You got to beat monsters there. You fly in a big city ship designed by what would you call her? Isla?
Isla, yeah.
Isla, an inventor in this kingdom, has built an entire ship that floats in the sky. That's an entire city that you travel around the world, going kingdom to kingdom, freeing cities, going through the mines for this item or this person or whatever. And eventually your paths lead you back to the world tree. You go up the tree, you go down the tree, you're digging in the roots, trying to figure it out. But basically, the big bad guy is Valesio. I can't remember how his name. He looks like a little Italian, or not a little Italian guy, but he's got the slick back white hair, the little mustache.
Yeah, the pencil thin mustache.
Yeah, the pencil thin mustache, that only enemies have. And he is trying to revive the shadow dragon that lives beneath the tree and wants to kill the tree and bring ruin to the world and, rule everybody. So doing that by making the monsters all fight people, turn them against
Spaniard? Helmet.
Yes, the Spaniard. That's it. I was gonna say that does.
What's that?
I went to look it up myself while you were talking. Sorry, and the result I'm getting is helmet.
His name is Helmet in the Japanese version.
I don't think so. Actually, I could be mistaken. Let me see here.
I've got Velasio.
Oh, Velasco. That's right, Velasco.
Wow.
Yeah, it is Velasco in the English dub. But it's helmet in the Japanese.
Well, that's one reason to become a villain.
With a name like that. So yeah, I mean, you're taking heroes throughout the game. There's story reasons, whatever, that all these other heroes from other Dragon Quest games are being brought to the world, and they join your party. They want to help you fight this off, and I mean, it's pretty cool. Like it actually, for some of them, it gives specific times where they're pulled out of the game. Like with Bianca and Nera, they're pulled from their game, their world, the night before the Dragon Quest V hero is going to make a decision on who to marry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, they talk about that. They're like, we don't know what's going to happen when we go back. One of us is going to get married.
Right.
But yeah, with all these story reasons, and at the end, the goddess bird shows up and tells you that she's been the one to go through all the different worlds and gather these heroes to help you defeat the problems going on in your world, and at the end she brings them all back and they disappear.
Yeah. I thought that was a pretty cool plot device, because we know the Phoenix from Dragon Quests 3 and 8, but we've never actually seen this kind of trans-dimensional power for the Phoenix before, which is, I thought it was a cool addition.
It's very nice to actually see her in action for once. Besides trying to kill us, but
So, Jaybird, we'll start with you. When did you first get a chance to play this?
Oh gosh, I picked this up. I think at one of the Steam summer sales. So I think it might have been. It was a while ago, right after I joined the Den. So it was either around winter 2017, or Steam summer sale 2018. One of those two. I forget the specifics.
Did you beat it right away? Did you go plow through it, or take your time?
I played it on and off. Not possibly every day, because I remember finishing that one much faster than I finished Dragon Quest Heroes 2. Because the Heroes 2 took me a while. Because I would play Heroes 2 in the winters and then skip most of the year. So it took me like 3 whole winters to beat that game, because I'm really, really slow. But Heroes 1 I finished more or less right away.
All right. Liam, when did you get it?
So I bought the PS4 for this game back in 2015. And I actually ended up playing the demo first before it came out at New York Comic Con, and got to be one of the people to beat Gigantes in the demo, which was pretty cool. You got to get your picture taken with Helix, the mascot for the game, in front of this board with like your name and like the number number of people who had beaten the demo, which was like surprisingly difficult because you're fighting gigantes at low level characters.
Nice. So what was the number behind you?
I'm gonna have to look up my photo, but it's still, if you go back to the probably the easiest way to find it is go to the Dragon Quest Facebook account and just like look back at the photos from like the 2015 Dragon Quest Heroes. But yeah, there's like a whole bunch of people in there, and people also that I've known that I know now that didn't know then. Were also had beaten the demo, including like Nyani Soray, the cosplayer. She was there, and Kebi, who I know from the old NX forums. He was there. I'd never met him in person, but I saw that he used the same screen name for that contest. So I was like, oh, no way. So,
pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. That was the first time I got to hang out with like the marketing team and talk to them about the games and oh, that's right. I met Gabriel from Peru at that demo too, and I coached him through beating gigantes. Yeah, that was a really cool time, definitely for sure. The New York Comic Con.
Mm-hmm. Woodus, when did you get to play?
I imported the Japanese version of it, and I played through a good part of it. I don't believe I finished it though, doing the Google Translate from my phone for that one. And then I bought the 2015 when it came out, and then I've also got the Switch combo pack, but I've only played up far enough to meet Ragnar and talk to him, but not make him playable.
So I was talking about this the other day on the other podcast I was on, and I couldn't remember. They added him to the first version?
Yeah, to 1.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's not in DQH2? I thought he was for the Switch in Japan.
I don't believe so, but I could be wrong because I haven't played the Switch version of 2 yet.
I was mistaken. Okay.
Yeah, I remember he was added to 1 or the other, and I can't for the life of remember.
I know he's in 1 because I've met him in 1. I haven't played enough through 2 to see if he's in that one as well.
Mm-hmm. I think he's in 2 because I remember seeing trailer footage that reminds me very much of some of the dungeons in 2, so he may show up.
I might have my versions backwards then too, because I bought it right when I played it right when I got it, and I haven't picked it up since. One of those ones I need to get back to playing through.
I was trying to look. Ragnar appears. Oh man, that really doesn't help. On the Ragnar page on the DragonQuest.org, the wiki, it says it's got listed Dragon Quest Heroes: The World Trees Woe, Blight Below, and Dragon Quest Heroes 2 combo pack. Ragnar appears as an exclusive playable character in the Switch version. It doesn't say what.
Maybe it's both.
A Switch version of what?
I know, it's like, okay, you just said 2 things and he appears there.
Yeah.
Where? Not too sure.
Yeah.
Now, Liam, I remember actually distinctively this game because I had it pre-ordered pretty early, but it probably wasn't the exact night I met you up in New York, but I remember riding on the train through the Bronx one night and canceling my pre-order. I was like, man, this vacation's getting really expensive, and I don't even have a PS4 yet. I'm gonna cancel my pre-order on this and just wait it out. So I didn't get this game right at launch, but I did buy. It came out in September, October of 2015, and we were just getting ready to buy a house at that time. So I was like, okay, I can't buy anything. I want to buy this game. I'll get it soon. And then we moved into our house the Friday before Thanksgiving and paid everything, went through closing and everything the Friday before Thanksgiving, spent a week getting the house all put together and whatever. And then I wake up Black Friday and I'm like, okay, I know what my finances are and everything. And I look and I'm like, holy crap, there's Black Friday deals for PS4. There's a Black Friday deal for Dragon Quest Heroes. So I bought that on Black Friday that year, and I had it finished before Christmas. I know I did it pretty quickly because I remember my wife went away for a couple days, took the kids, or actually we only had one at the time. She took a kid before Christmas and went to her parents' house because the house we moved into, the backyard was literally half, and we're on like about a half acre, but half the backyard, it was almost waist deep in just sticks and leaves and piles of just debris that had been pushed back there for years. So she's like, hey, you have 3 days to clear all that. And I remember beating it during a break during that. So I know I beat it by Christmas. So. But since then, I've put in another 70, 80 games, or 70, 80 games, 70, 80 hours into this. So definitely a good long time.
How many of those hours was just like trying to beat Soma?
Yeah, not many. I tried him 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, I'm not good enough for this. And then what's the other one? Is it not Mortimer, but Dark Dream?
It was Nocturnus in Atlas.
Nocturnus, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I beat Atlas. I think I got lucky. That was one that I kept getting close to. And I was like, if I keep doing it, but no, the other 2 I got beat so badly, I've probably not tried them more than 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I got beat so badly by Zoma, I didn't even try like Nocturnus or Atlas.
Jaybird, have you beat everybody?
In the first game, yes. Okay. And then I promptly forgot about them afterwards. It's like, I'm done. We're good. Never have to do that again.
Woodus, what about you?
No, I didn't get all the way through all of them. I just, I don't think I have the dexterity for what it takes to get through some of those bosses.
Yeah, and I did the research too. I went on to YouTube and I'm watching videos of people just like plowing through it like it's nothing. And
They make it look so
that's
easy.
all you have to do, really? Okay, and then I just go in there and just get creamed.
Yeah.
Because he takes out your party members first because they're just kind of the AI. They're just kind of wandering around, jar-jarring through the fight. And they're getting creamed.
Yeah, that's a big frustration with these games. A lot of the final bosses that they offer you would be a lot easier if the AI didn't suck.
Yeah.
Like you're paying attention, you're minding your own butt, and all of a sudden, oh hey, there's one party member down. Oh hey, there's another 2 members down. Oh wait, when did I turn into the last one? I have to spend all my Yggdrasil leaves mopping up everybody else's mess.
Yeah. You just burn through leaves like reviving dead AI characters.
Yeah.
I almost wish you could solo him, but I'm sure that wouldn't work either.
Well, not until Heroes 2, I think, could you meaningfully solo some of the bosses, because that was when they started adding in things like classes. In Heroes 1, you've just got Lucius and Aurora, and it's like, okay, do you want to fight them with fire or ice? Take a pick.
Yeah, because I mean and you're stuck with whoever you started with, so
right.
Unless you go through.
Well, you can bring Aurora in if you chose Lucius, is it Lucius?
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, but you couldn't solo with her if you were.
Oh no.
You get your player character, and that is it.
So what about these characters we had here? What do you like? What do you not like about the cast of this game? And Brother Jaybird, we'll start with you. Who are your favorites? Did you never touch?
Oh, that was a mistake. For playing, I stuck with Bianca most of the time because her Reign of Pain skill is really easy to just get behind and keep using. Makes it really kind of easy to basically just cheese the game, and I'm not really in the mood for a challenge, just trying to get from one part of the story to the next. So I was like, okay, I'll stick with Bianca. She's good, she's useful, she's got multi-hit, she's got critical skill, she's good. I'll go with her. But there are other good ones too. There are, I do believe, about 4 major battle strategies, characters that have definite go-to battle strategies. Bianca is one. Nira is another, because once you get her, oh gosh, I forget the name of the skill. She's got 2 magic skills that go in tandem with each other. She's got a suction skill, and she's got a whirlwind skill. Crescent Moon, I think it is. Crescent Moon, I think, is the whirlwind skill. So if you get those set up and you have her, if you get her regeneration on crit skills going, she gets, you basically turn her into a little vortex of death, which is really good for clearing out mobs. And then it's not a strategy I really used until I had to really actually fight the final bosses. But Terry and Elena are actually really good because they're the DPS characters. So they do the most damage the quickest. But outside of gameplay, my absolute favorite character is Lucius. I have no qualms about saying that. Lucius is a very appealing mix of traits because he's this stuffy tactician whose tactics are routinely ignored because his girlfriend is there to ignore them. But he also has, when you see him, and pay attention to what he does in cutscenes, and especially how he treats Helix, because he just dotes on the little slime, and it's so sweet to watch. He's got this heart of gold that's really appealing to watch in action. I've mentioned it a few times in the den, but one of my favorite things about Lucius is he's got this he does the wingman thing for Kirill. So like the first thing he does when he realizes Kirill's got a crush on Elena is, this calls for a strategy, and he immediately starts planning out how they're going to attack this problem, and it's just so delightful because you never see that kind of thing. Well, I don't see that kind of thing, at least myself, very often. It's like, so I see this happening and I go, this is a guy, this is a bro to have. I wish Lucius was a real person, because that is definitely a wingman I want. Oh, did I mention Doric? I'm gonna do a brief bit on Doric. Not as much as Lucius, but I love Doric's got a really good bit of voice talent behind him. He does the boisterous bruiser trope really, really well, and it's always fun to call down Doric's attacks, because you just hear this guy just having a blast as he's destroying hundreds and hundreds of monsters. Like, yeah, this is another guy I'd like to have in real life.
Right, a king who can actually fight.
Well, that's a benefit too, but it's mostly just how he fights that I love so much. Is like, this is the exact voice I can imagine this guy having.
Yeah.
Isn't he the one that beats the gird your loins into the ground too? Comment.
Could be. I can't imagine Aurora talking about everyone girding their loins.
I am 100% sure you're right there, Woodus. That reminds me very much so of him. So what's funny, Brother Jaybird, you mentioned, the Reign of Pain, and I think Liam is going to agree with me here. But yeah, that was definitely who I abused all the time, just that Reign of Pain skill. And I know I got to level 100 with everybody, or 99 with everybody. And I know the strategies that if you look up right now, the strategies for getting lots of the mini medals. And if you look up,
right.
Yeah, and if you look up the strategies for how to get to level 99, it all deals with her and that skill.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And that was something I had just taken advantage of the whole game. And then when I got to I really never have gone super far in the post games with Dragon Quests. I mean, 9 I did quite a bit. But I mean, I didn't get as far as Woodus and Liam with the revocating and everything. But I mean, I've taken on the option. I defeated God in 7 and whatever, but I never maxed out anything until this game. And I think it was because I had already done that so much throughout the game that when I was like, okay, I'm at 50, I'm at 60. What do I got to do to take this to the end to keep beating it? And I look it up and I'm like, oh, I got this. I know how to use that. Definitely her. I would say 99% of the game was I used Lucius, Aurora, Bianca, and then I would have I'd use Yangus. Because he's hilarious. I'd use Kirill. He's one of my favorite characters ever in the series. And I'd use Doric. And honestly, that was about it. I mean, you got Terry, you got Sorrow, but I was just like, they're another 2 sword users. I've already got 2 sword users with Lucius and Aurora. I like Doric.
Smash Brothers?
Yeah, but
get into
then
that.
Sorrow has the great sword, so that's a pretty heavy
So it's a sword. Great, whatever. But that's how.
Sword. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. The Doric, the voice, and how he just laughs all the time, and Yangus, those are just good to have around. And
Yeah.
like I said, Kirill's one of my favorite evers, and I mean, whatever. Nera, I've said this plenty of times before. Screw her, whatever.
Well, yeah, Nera has the bubble magic, which I couldn't really get behind. I did get her to 99. I got all the characters to 99, but I didn't really use Nera a lot. I used Bianca for Reign of Pain, definitely. I was also a big fan of Yangus for Helm Splitter, Jessica for Hustle Dance. Terry's electric magic was fantastic for just disabling any of the mech monsters.
Oh yeah,
like,
that was a go-to strategy. Yeah.
The killer killing machines and all that. So just bring Terry in for that, and then Elena for just her attacks and the voice acting, which I found obnoxious at first and then kind of came to love. And then of course a big shout out to male and female puff puffs in this game. You can get a puff puff from Yangus. you can get puff puffed by Doric with his giant moobs, his massive pectoral muscles.
Yeah, this game did great job with all the puff puffs. You could go into Patty's planning place area basically, and all the cast was sitting around. And was it just completely random if you went up and talked to them?
Yeah. I think you could only get one puff puff from every character, but it wasn't always going to trigger, so you had to kind of keep going in and out, and that sounded weird. In and out of the room, and and then just like coming back and talking to like, and I had manually written down a list to make sure I'm not talking to the same character if I got the puff puff already. So it's like, all right.
Yeah, they put an achievement behind that, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah, you get an accolade for that.
Yeah.
It is called the Puffington Host.
That's right. Yeah.
At least on PSN it was, or in the game. I don't know if Steam has a different one, or I don't think it would be called something different.
That's what they called it in the Steam version, if I recall.
Yeah, because you're right. It's an in-game achievement. It's not necessarily a trophy or a Steam thing or a PSN thing. It's the in-game achievement system they've got. So yeah, Puffington Host. That was a good one. That one sticks in my head. Not a lot of things. Names like that do, but that was pretty funny. So Woodus, any favorites, least favorites for you?
Oh, I definitely stuck with Bianca for a good portion of the game. I tried to rotate everybody in or out just to give them play time and try and get used to their battle styles, but her attacks were just so, especially when you were metal hunting, was just so beneficial.
Yeah. She kills the most the fastest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys pretty much covered everything the way I did it.
Shout out to Kirill as well for his thwack coup de grace.
Oh yeah.
Is that what they're calling it now? Thwack thwack?
Yeah.
He's moved beyond puff puff to thwack thwack.
Yeah, thwack 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 thwack.
Yeah, that was great. I was on when I first recorded a podcast about it about a month and a half ago. I remember talking about that, and I don't think anybody else knew the history behind that. So a lot of our listeners, I'm sure, do that. Back
the thwack or the puff puff?
The thwack. They all thought it was funny, but one of the female people that was on the podcast, she's like, "Oh, it was my favorite, special attack, coup de grace, whatever." She goes, "It was just so funny that he's just like thwack, 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 and getting frustrated and whatever." And I'm like, "Oh no, this goes back to Dragon Quest IV, like the first game he appeared in. If you didn't play the original NES version, you don't get this joke."
Yeah.
It is definitely a joke that goes back to that, where if you didn't have him set up correctly, or maybe even if you did, he would try just thwacking every single monster in the game, final boss, whatever. He would just burn through his MP trying to thwack.
Nothing for it.
Yeah, getting nothing for it. So we were talking about, because this game was not a in-house development by Square Enix or the normal teams that do Dragon Quest games, but this was licensed out to Koei Tecmo, and who does all these kind of Musou style games, Dynasty Warriors, Orochi Warriors. You got Hyrule Warriors, Fire Emblem Warriors, and then the Dragon Quest Heroes games. So it's a game that they kind of farmed out, but they did an awesome job capturing the complete feel of a Dragon Quest game.
It's a good thing they rebranded.
They did a very good job.
If they were still calling it Dragon Warrior, it would be Dragon Warrior Warriors.
Yeah, that would have, or they would have just, gone on with Dragon Warrior Heroes.
Yeah, that would have worked.
Fun little bit of trivia on the finishers from Heroes. Those are actually adapted from the finishers, the character-specific finishers in the Monster Battle Road arcade games.
That's right. Yeah, that thwack coup is from that game.
Yeah.
In particular, are the other animations from there as well?
Most of them. I remember that Jessica's Magic Burst is lifted from it. They don't do the full cinematic with all the setting in the background, but the characters go through the same motions and do the same attack. Just they're stuck in whatever setting you happen to be in.
I've never caught that before. I'll have to go back and watch those again.
You're in for a good time.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that you could.
That segues into our voice acting discussion.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry, what were you saying?
I was gonna say there's a lot of good stuff that, I mean, I am not someone to sit around and watch YouTube videos very much. I've been notorious, like, people send me 30-second clips. I'm like, I'm not going to watch that. I will argue for more than 30 seconds about sitting and watching a 30-second clip on my phone. But
That's a worthwhile expenditure of time.
Exactly. No, I it's what I tell my son all the time. If you would have just done it, you would be done by now, and we wouldn't even have to have this argument. It would take less time. The same thing with me. Like, somebody sends me a funny video, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't have 10 seconds to watch that. But I can sure
to think that I don't have 10 seconds to watch it, though, which I'm going to use.
Yes, I will spend 20 seconds texting you why I don't have the 10 seconds to watch that. But no, there's a lot of good things. Like you could probably find some good mixes of all the different puffs here. I've done that before. Just people who've compiled all that or all the coup de grace or something. Those clips are pretty good for this game to just sit and watch a few. You don't have to know story. You don't have to know whatever. There's just a lot of fun little snippets that you could watch together about this.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of them up on the Den's YouTube page, but I don't have near all of them. Another one of those things to add to my list to do.
Write it down. So, Liam, you were talking about voice acting.
Yeah. So, how did everyone feel about the voice acting in this game?
I thought it was pretty fair. I'm not gonna. I hate to say it, but I'm not gonna nominate it for best voice acting of the year. But several of the voices were very well chosen. Dorix was great. Yangus's voice act did Yangus have the same voice actor from 8?
Yeah, he
yes,
did.
Ricky Rover.
Yeah, he's always done a good Yangus. Lucius and Aurora were pretty good. Got their characters' spirits across. I can speak the English language. Just give me a second here. Got their voices across pretty well. I can't think of any bad. I can't think of anyone who did a bad job. But I think
Elena was not what I expected. I think Elena was not what a lot of people expected.
Yeah.
That kind of like high pitch. And again, at first when I heard that, I immediately was just like, no, definitely not. No. and then she just kind of grows on you over time after you hear her say, very okay enough times.
Yeah, you have to acclimate to some of the voices. Yeah. I think one of my favorite voice acting jobs though was Robin Hood. I always love when Robin Hood shows up in the games, and you just got to listen to him babble on for a few minutes. I think Robin Hood was the best choice for that particular role. I don't know who it was. I'd have to go look it up, but I loved the Robin Hood missions unambiguously.
I think it was cool just in the fact that it had voice acting, and for all but like one or two people, like other than Jessica and Yangus, this was the first time any of these characters had voice acting. So I mean, we all read some really lovely broken Russian slang of Alina and Kirill on the DS version of Dragon Quest IV, but I mean, we'd never heard that Russian before, so
right,
I mean,
right.
Yeah, pitch or not, I mean, I think that was all a little jarring there.
Well, and you've probably built a lot of suffering, Platty, because you've had this definite image in your head for like 20 years now. You're just not getting it ever.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
No,
exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's like one of the reasons I think it was so off-putting to hear at first was that I had this kind of idea of this character, and then hearing her for the first time after like 20 years, it took some transition time. I had to grow accustomed to it. But also another shout out actually to one of the voice actors. The voice actor who played Maya is actually Anjali Mohindra, who is an actor from a Doctor Who spin-off called The Sarah Jane Adventures, I think, or is it Sarah Jingles? But yeah, which is essentially, it was a kind of like a teenage version of Doctor Who meets like the X-Files type thing. So we have that's a bit of the Sarah Jane Adventures rather. She played Rani Chandra in that show, which was on for I guess 5 years in the UK. But it's a kind of cool little bit of trivia there. We have an actual professional actor who's been in a Doctor Who spinoff. Who's actually
she's also looking her up right now. She's in an episode of Doctor Who this year.
Yep, as a different character. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think she did have a bit part in the In-Betweeners as like a character at a party who gets hit on by one of the guys.
Okay, don't follow her career much at all, do you?
Well, it's just like one of those things where if it's Doctor Who related, and I happen to see her in something else I watch, I'm like, oh wow, it's the same person.
Yeah, that's our excuse too. Oh, it's
one of the other surprises to me, because I don't read a lot of the party chat in a lot of the games. And Dragon Quest IV. It wasn't there on the DS. It was on the mobile version, but thanks to probably me, or maybe I think it was King Zenith still doing it at the time. We had those light speed contests back when the mobile ports of the games came out, and like the first 10 people to finish the games got the badge on the den. And I once I had Dragon Quest IV on my iPad or whatever. I think it was one of the first ones that came out. I think it might have been the first mobile port that came out right before Dragon Quest VIII then dropped, and then all the others started popping up. But I was breezing through that game, not reading the stuff too much. I never realized how much like Kirill was so lovesick for Elena. I mean, it was hinted at in the Dragon. I think we talked about this on the last episode when we talked Dragon Quest IV. Liam, you mentioned it, that there were some hints there, that you find a little note or something from him to the princess in the original game.
You find his diary, I think, in the in like church in a book that he had left there, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got like a love note to Elena in it, and I think that's even in the Dragon Warrior 4 for NES.
Mm-hmm. And again, talking about Brother Jaybird, you mentioned, I got this built up in my head for 20 years. And I said this last time, Christo is one of my top 3 favorites in Christo Kirill in all of Dragon Quest. I love the guy. He was a paladin, and yes, Genghis the legendary bandit. You did point out to me the other day on the den that I called Prince of Kanak the original paladin, and then in the last podcast I called Kirill the original Dragon Quest paladin. But
he is the paladin everybody cares about.
Correct. Kanak everybody jokes about, and both of these guys are kind of jokes in the Dragon Quest fandom. Kanak's always dead, and
well, I mean, he is.
And Kirill's always casting thwack or whatever. But I didn't really realize how they characterized him so much as this really lovesick puppy guy, stumbling over words and everything in this game. That was something that took me a little bit by shock. I was like, what? Where'd this come from?
This can't be canon. It's an official game, but it can't be canon.
Correct. Something happened to him in the moving between universes here. He lost a little bit of mojo.
It's got the Pokemon problem now. There are so many alternate universes of the same games that you can't just get this combined version. No, they have different versions of all the characters in each different remake they've got.
We just need to have Into the Kirillverse.
That'd be something.
That could be the next movie to bomb in Japan.
What? Did Spider-Verse not do well there?
No. I'm just saying Dragon Quest Your Story didn't do well.
Oh, Your Story. Yeah, right.
So let's make a movie out of lovesick.
I don't exactly know if that movie bombed there, because I think a lot of people went to see it. They just were not kind in the reviews.
Yeah, it didn't have.
It was great up until the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it's funny because I hear a lot of people in the West actually like the ending. So maybe it was just the fact that we've heard, we didn't see it until a couple of months ago, and we just had several months of probably 6 months build up of just people crapping all over it. And then so then when we finally saw, we're like, all right, it's not great, but it's not the end of the world. But there's definitely a lot of people in the West who are like, oh, I love the ending. It's you right in the feels.
That's because people in the West have no taste. What? I didn't say that.
Oh,
shots fired.
Whack cast.
Oh man, whack cast.
Yeah.
For those of you who want revenge, talk to Plattym. He'll give you my personal information, I'm sure.
So does that mean that movie would be Dragon Quest Thwack Story?
Kirill's Thwack Story.
Everyone could use a good thwack story.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So we touched on it a little bit earlier, the missions that we did not do. But what were some of the hardest missions that you remember in the game? Other than Zoma, other than the other ones we've talked about that you just couldn't get through, or you played a lot to get through.
Oh gosh. Well, the big one that comes to mind is, I think, one of the maps you get, because the original Heroes has the system where you unlock new areas partly through the story and partly through the maps you get by completing missions and completing parts of the story. And I think this is a map fight. But what they do is they set you up at the front of the town, outside the gates, and the first thing they do is they throw Atlas at you. Atlas, the big orange giant relative to the Cyclops, and he's coming, and you gotta kill him, and you gotta go running down to go fight him. And once you do, all hell breaks loose. Because what happens is, once you do a certain amount of damage, he starts making noise, and what this does is it summons all his friends. So it's not just Atlas, it's Atlas and Pazuzu and Belial. So you've got the 3 generals from Warriors 2 breathing down your neck, and Atlas does not go down easy. Even if you've got your characters up to level 99, he's still a bit of a challenge if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you've got all 3 of them. And then they start summoning more monsters. You've got monsters breathing down around your area, coming out of dark night maws, and then he starts summoning them behind you. Because the trick here is, it's a tower defense mission. You're defending an Yggdrasil route. And the ostensible goal is to prevent Atlas from getting there. But he's got all his friends going after it anyway. He summons monsters left and right from 20 feet away, so you got to figure out how to split your time up between knocking around Atlas and pals and all the monsters they've got in reserve. So you have to more or less split your attention really evenly and between 2 different fights, and it keeps you on the ball for so long that it's really easy to lose track and get tripped up, and that'll throw you a lot.
Yeah, that mission. Oh, go ahead.
All right, so I do remember those route missions where you have to defend it, and they're coming from all sides, and then they keep opening these maws, and you have to make a quick split decision of which ones you're gonna go defend. Maybe fight off a little bit of one, and then go fight the other one before it starts swarming on you. So yeah, it gets. There's some really interesting fights in these games.
Yeah, I'll have to say, all the ones with those Yggdrasil routes were pains in the butt. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
The tower defense, like, you know what? If it was all the ones like, go here, fight this guy, go here, fight this guy, go here, fight this. I mean, there were enough other difficult ones, but the ones where you got the whole map spread out and you had to really go through and take out all those maw keepers, or take out some areas too, but at the same time defend the Yggdrasil route. Oh my God, that was ridiculous. I remember there was one, and I think because a lot of the maps, there's 2 missions in that map. There's the mission that you have to go through in the story, but you can go back there later, and there's a more advanced version of all the maps.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was the second advanced version, and I can't remember the name of it or whatever, but I can picture the game select screen. It's down near the bottom right, and you start on a plateau, and the Yggdrasil route is right down below you when you're there. And it's just this massive map. There's swamps in different corners, and there's a maze in the top left, and there's just so much that you have to do. And basically that Yggdrasil route is at the center of the map. So there's like 6 different paths that meet where this route is, and there's just like almost no way to defend all 6 paths or keep people away. So unless you like make quick rushes out to do stuff and then come back, you got to sit there and you're constantly spinning trying to fight all these guys. And I think that was the one I probably replayed the most, because I could get far enough that I had the hope that I could do it. It wasn't like Zoma, which I was like, screw this, I'm going to lose. I know it. But it was one I could keep getting close enough to, and it probably took me 10 times to play that one.
Yeah, that was the same for me. Those Protect X type missions I had the most trouble with.
How'd you guys do on the Bjorn fight?
Oh, the Bjorn flight. The Bjorn flight. Well, it is a flight. The Bjorn fight was glorious. I loved every second of it. Oh, man.
That was a lot of fun. I also like the fight on the air castle, like where you're on the top of it, and then all the flying monsters are swarming on you.
That's the Bjorn fight.
Oh, yeah. Is it the same fight?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the 2 different phases. Bjorn is approaching, summoning a bunch of air monsters while you're running around on the island. And then you got to alternate between taking down the air flyer monsters and shooting things at Bjorn.
And I think, does he drop a couple of rock bombs on you too, and you have to shoot them off before they explode?
Yeah, because your platform is the tower defense, the tower you're defending.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough one. It was probably one I did 5, 6, 7 times.
Yeah, same here. I think I kept missing his head.
Yeah, you had to hit really specific parts of that, because you're firing you're like in an automatic cannon shooting crossbows, like the big crossbows.
Yeah. Is this the first, besides I guess besides Rocket Slime, was this the first Heroes game to have, or first Dragon Quest game to really have cannons?
I don't know.
I cannot recall cannons in any of the mainline games.
Well, the Giddish Empire and Dragon Quest IX had some unusable cannons. They had some basically like some stock stock cannons on the tops of the towers as you're climbing up the Giddish castle.
Yeah, and I would imagine you could see cannon set pieces, but actual usable cannons, I think that starts with Heroes 1.
Yeah, or Rocket Slime.
Yeah.
The original Dragon Quest Heroes.
Heroes 1 or Heroes .0.
Yeah, right.
So, what did you guys think of the final battle? Because, I mean, I thought it was a good battle. I thought it was quite epic. But, oh my god, this was the one thing. Let's say by the time I reached level 100, I want to say my youngest was about 3 when I went back like 6 months after I beat it and started like, let me really get into the post game and go through do this. And he had turned 3 by then and he wanted to play. So for a while, he sat with a PS2 controller and pretended he was playing while I was on the screen. But by the time he turned, I want to say by the time he turned 3 or 4, he was old enough. And I remember my wife texted me one day. She's like, Brady says he knows how to like put the disc in, or is the disc in. He knows how to load it up. And he would almost every day for about a month, he would beat this game. He'd go in, he'd load it up, he memorized where to go through the menus, and he would go there and beat the game, which was pretty easy for him because I had everybody level 99 by then. But I've seen this ending to this game more times than half a dozen other games put together.
I think I only beat the game once, so I actually don't really remember this boss fight at all. Can you any of you guys describe what the monster looked like, or what the final Velasquero, whatever it looked like?
It's Shadroth the Dragon.
Okay, yeah, I do remember that.
It's a Western style dragon, stands up on its hind legs and just kind of walks towards you over time. I think they've got like 1 or 2 phases up front where you're technically kind of sort of doing damage, but then they have to go through like 2 or 3 more cinematic scenes before you get there. And then the final fight where you're technically like right in front of the castle gates, but he's warped reality around you, so like the universe is breaking down in your immediate area. And that's where the real fight exists.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember that. I should go back and redo that. I also, was there an Orochi fight in this game too, where you have to?
There was a King Hydra fight.
Hydra, yeah. You have to kick some rock bombs over and it eats them up and they explode inside. That was some fun.
That was a very cool mission. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, and then I loved fighting in the leaves of the Yggdrasil tree. You're like up in the branches, like.
Yeah, Yggdrasil's crown. That's what they called it. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. I was thinking about what was that name again? I was like, oh, that's right. I liked how they had the temple up there. That was a nice set piece.
Yeah, I was gonna say you get to the top and you have to. There's a couple of interesting fights. There's some sort of, I think it's a golem that knocks you off. Sort of rock monster that can like punch you off the Yggdrasil and then you have to restart the fight, which is like I think happened to me once, and then I was like, oh, that's obnoxious.
Well, and the mechanic there is you have to knock him off too. That's how you beat him. Because if you get his hit points all the way down, it's like, woohoo, I beat him. He just recharges. Like I think he crumples into bricks and then pops back up, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah, and then I think after that fight is done, I think you can fight a bunch of king slimes in the next room, which is pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I only fought Shadroth the once myself, I think. And the setting was very cool. I appreciate what they did with the setting. It was a very nice final boss arena. But I seem to recall, like late in the fight, once I got his health down, he would there was some kind of levitation mechanic going on where he'd rise you up into the air and you'd have to attack him during that. It's been years since I remembered anything about this fight, so my memory is really spotty, and I wasn't sure because the machine I'm playing on wasn't very good, so I was never entirely sure whether I was doing something properly or something was breaking and I was just rolling with it. So I did the fight and I won, and I remember there was a levitation segment, and that's pretty much all I can say about it.
Yeah, I think because this was Shadroth was the end of the story mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I played so much of the post game, I just forgot the story mode final boss.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the story mode, you're not really extending it probably much past 25, 35 hours, if that, depending on how much grinding and whatever you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got 110 hours in this game, and yeah.
The map is were really cool though. I remember just there's a lot of really memorable maps, including like temples, and there's that one area that's like it's like ruins of a castle with like a swamp on one side and everything, and you can get to a high point and defend that from a bunch of like approaching golems and other monsters and everything. Just that particular map, which I'm blanking on the name right now, is particularly.
I think that's the one that really pissed me off. Because I think that's the one that right above the high point, because you can like jump way down. I think that's where the Yggdrasil route is, and
it's on the high point, right?
It's right below the high point.
Oh, right below it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you can go up there and use the cannons and just like blast away at anything approaching.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't
hop down and attack like the walking corpses or whatever's like really immediately close.
Mm-hmm.
But
anything else memorable you guys?
Oh, I did want to give a shout out to this is one of those games, of course, like Chrono Trigger and so many other games before. Or after that, where you fight a boss who then joins you later, and when you have to fight him, he's like way harder and stronger than when you actually get it.
Yeah.
The Sorrow fight, the Sorrow fight is like brutally difficult, and then you get him, and he's like crazy weak. Especially if you've been like level grinding your characters. I think my characters are like closing on 99, and then I get him, and he's like 60 or 70, and he's like way behind.
I remember how disappointing that was too. Yeah, that was a bit of a letdown.
Yeah. Oh, you Mr. Bainsword.
Yes, for the second episode in a row, we got to talk about it.
Yeah.
So Woodus, what do you think about Sorrow's new canon last name?
Well, I guess it kind of makes sense, but it's just weird having it now after all these years of not having it.
Yeah, definitely. And in Quest of the Stars, which is where it originates, they are using it pretty frequently. Like, wherever they can insert it, they'll into the Dragon Quest IV event. They'll Bainsword. It's the Malkovich scene from Being John Malkovich, the movie. But Bainsword. It's part of the canon now.
Well, yeah, that's one of the big gotcha events right now is the Bainsword equipment.
Yeah,
gotcha
the
draw.
Bainsword. All right.
Which I've spent my 9 or 12,000 gems on it and haven't gotten squat.
There's no Falcon Blade in there, so I'm not even trying. I'm just hoarding gems right now until the next available Falcon Blade tombola, and then
it'll come around again sometime. It'll be tucked in some other event.
Yep, and then I'll blow through all my gems trying to get it and not get it. This is such is my life in Quest of the Stars.
Come back in another year.
Yeah, exactly. So, any other final thoughts for Dragon Quest Heroes?
I liked it. It's a really good game for the gameplay. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody looking for a lot of story. But it is a very fun adaptation of the Quest franchise as a whole, and I appreciate it for that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think I said this on the other podcast I was on. Because not everybody on that podcast was a huge Dragon Quest fan, and we were talking about all these licensed Muso games, is what they are in Japan, and I was like, I've never played a Muso game before this, so I didn't have anything to compare it to. Now I've played the Fire Emblem Warriors, I've played the Hyrule Warriors, and well, maybe this one doesn't have as much post-game content as those do. Those are ridiculously chock full of things to do that, like, you can do stuff for 100 hours, not just level grinding and everything. There's actually like missions and not story, but there's actually like the point to do it, not just to get stronger. Being the first one I played and knowing so much about the Dragon Quest series and seeing all the little, Easter eggs and stuff that they put in there, it's really awesome that they were able to understand Dragon Quest, the creators of this, that they'd not done any Dragon Quest before, a completely separate company just working with the license, and they just did an awesome job. It from top to bottom, it felt Dragon Quest.
And all the puffs you could ever want.
Yeah, exactly.
More than you could ever want.
Yes, depending on what your proclivities are. I'm sure there was a few that you did not want, but yet they were there.
Yeah, this
will
is
take
definitely
it
the
and
first.
you will like.
This is the first Muso game that I owned. I'd played Hyrule Warriors for the Switch at a friend's place, and what I thought was cool about that game is for the Switch you can actually play Hyrule Warriors as a two-player.
Mhm.
So one person is on the LCD controller, and the other person could be on the TV, and you can play co-op. So I was hoping for that for this game, and they didn't do it, and then they didn't do it again for 2. But yeah, that's something I'd love to see in like a third Dragon Quest Heroes game.
That'd be awesome.
A co-op option, I think, would be awesome.
So you must have played it on when you're talking about Hyrule Warriors, you must have played it on the Wii U then.
Oh, was it Wii U?
Yeah, it's
Probably.
on the Switch now. It's on the Switch now, but it's split screen. You're on the left, the other person's on the right.
Oh, okay, yeah. I guess it was the Wii U then. Yeah, I played it at my buddy Gabe's house from the my buddy Abe rather, not Gabriel. my buddy Abe DD Drova from the Dragon Quest IX multiplayer group.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right, so I guess that's it for this episode of Slime Time. We do want to thank Brother Jaybird for joining us to talk about this awesome game.
Thanks for having me. I'm flattered.
Thanks so much, Brother Jaybird.
Yeah. So you might have noticed that the only time we mention Patreon on our podcast is when we say we don't use Patreon. We're just long-term fans that want to speak about the game series we know, we love so much. So if you have money you would like to donate, consider sliding on over to the Dragon's Den at www.woodus.com/den. Click on support this site. Woodus, who's on this episode with us, he's owned and maintained that site for over 20 years. He'd appreciate any donation, or you can use his Amazon affiliate link. You can buy Dragon Quest Heroes, Dragon Quest Heroes 2, Dragon Quest Heroes 11, 11S, whatever else has got linked there. He's got a bunch of them linked, and he'll get a little fraction of the sale going to support the den.
And if you're an advertiser looking for a cool new podcast to spend lots of ad revenue on, reach out to us at slimetimepodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can find us on Twitter at Plattym3 or at Riamu Celestrian, or hit us up both simultaneously at DQ Slime Time. Also, please be sure to join our new Instagram account. Also,
What is our Instagram account?
Also at DQ Slime Time.
All right. Brother Jaybird, are you on Twitter or Instagram?
Not really, no. I occasionally look to find interesting things, but I don't have a personal account.
All right. So find Brother Jaybird at the Dragon's Den. Join him on the forums, where we've got lots of DQ discussions going on. It's one of the few, maybe the only remaining Dragon Quest forums still around. Forum period. There's not a lot of forum work going on. Discord's killed everything. Thanks a lot, Discord. You can find the Den forums on the main page, what I said earlier, or www.woodus.com forums. I'm there talking a lot about it. Brother Jaybird's diving deep into a lot of the stuff
And everybody else is very
Heroes
nice
games.
tolerant.
And he's also, you can hear his experiences exploring Dragon Quest XI for the first time. So go ahead, do that. And we'd like to thank everyone else that made this possible, like Woodus. Thank you very much for the support of the series and this podcast, and for keeping the Den's lights on for decades.
And thanks to Amanda Lepre and the Descendants of Erdrick for allowing us to use their music for our podcast. Descendants of Erdrick is a video game tribute band from Austin, Texas. If you like what you've heard, check them out in their most recent album, Advent, at www.descendantsoferdrick.com or on Twitter at @doferdrick. Or once the coronavirus stuff is all over with, go see their band leader Amanda Lepre live on tour as a guitarist with Andrew W.
Speaking of Instagram, thanks to our friend Dwayne Bullock, our graphic artist. You can find him on Instagram at Dwayne Art, or at his website, dwayneBullockart.bigcartel.com. He made the awesome artwork cover for this podcast, and he's been on a few times, as well as starring in the original iterations of Slime Time many years ago.
And if you're looking for more DQ podcasts, check out our earlier episodes on Dragon's Den, Anchor FM, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and more. Please also check out our fellow Dragon Quest podcasts available like Puff Puff Hour and Dragon Quest FM.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Woodus. Thanks, Brother Jaybird.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks again.
DQ Slime Time, sliming off.